Cool, let's get into it. So in the last session, Han was covering the foundations of AI and kind of like locating different parts of your workflows where AI can really like streamline those workflows, kind of trying to figure out, well, what kind of workflows make sense to automate, what sort of things is AI very useful for, what are some of the limitations, but also like where are some of the places where it can have the most impact. And so today we're going to be moving on to kind of one of those examples that really stands out, which is donor reporting. It's really one that's so beneficial to streamline with AI because it really takes so much time, and it's one of the things that these AI tools are really powerful at, because most of these AI tools, the ones in particular that we'll be using for this, they're like large language models, right? So they're very good at aggregating, synthesizing data, but mostly in Word format. So this is the kind of task that they're really brilliant for. So we're going to really get into some of the practicality of that today. So I'm going to skip over this part a little bit faster because I want to get more to kind of like the practical part of actually using the ReportsAI platform. But I wanted to just cover quickly some donor reporting best practices because I think it'll be useful, and then we can get more into the practical stuff after that. So get started. So yeah, when it comes to donor reporting, I think the mistake that some organizations make is that they focus more kind of on themselves. Like they kind of, the mentality is like, okay, these are all these activities and projects that I'm working on, and I just want to tell you all about what I've been doing on the ground. But really, for good donor reporting, you want to put yourself more into the mindset of the donors. So what does the donor actually want? So the donor is giving you funds to try and achieve an objective that they have, right? So they want to see the impact of those funds. That's why it's called impact reporting. So if you think from their mindset, they care a lot more about seeing what actual practical impact that the funds that they gave to you actually had on the ground. So if you try and kind of put yourself more into that mindset, it helps. And so if you ask yourself these 5 questions as a starting point, it's quite a good place to start from when you're doing donor reporting. So if you ask the first question being, what problem did we address? Then what exactly did we deliver? Then who benefited? Then what changed as a result? And then how do we know? And then that last question, how do we know? That's where you get more into like providing data sources and evidences to show exactly what you did. So you just kind of get yourself into that mentality of rather than from your perspective of like just trying to show what you have done on the ground, you want to put yourself into the donor's perspective of like, okay, well, what do they want to see? Then they really mostly want to see what the outcomes of their funding actually had. So in terms of that, the way they think about these things is they usually follow a logical framework, like also called a log frame, which maybe you've probably heard this thrown around before. So they usually come at it from the perspective of they have this overall goal, and this is a very long-term goal that they have, and feeding into that goal is outcomes they want to see in the medium term, and then feeding into those outcomes is outputs, like practical outputs in the short term. And to get those practical outputs, they have to do activities on the ground. So they're almost thinking about it from the goal first perspective. Whereas you as an organization that's actually implementing those activities on the ground, you tend to think of it from an activities first perspective. But you want to make sure that when you're doing your donor reporting, you're following these steps. You're taking it from, okay, this is what we're doing on the ground, but these are the outputs that it's had, which then result in these outcomes, which in the long term feeds into this long-term goal. So for that to make a bit more sense, let me get a bit more into more of like a practical example. So for an organization, if they have the long-term overall goal of reducing maternal deaths in Kenya, let's say. So that's a very long-term, big picture goal that they might have. So that's the way they're thinking about when they're giving out funding, that they want to achieve that goal in the long term, right? And then to get to that goal, they want to see increased adoption of safe pregnancy and delivery practices in Kenya. So that's something that feeds into the long-term goal. But to get to those outcomes, they want to see outputs of an amount of nurses that are actually trained in these practices. And so then to actually get that, they need to see activities that are done on the ground. So like, well, okay, how many workshops did you conduct with these nurses to give them the relevant training? So you can see that's their perspective. They go from goal to outcome to output to activities. Whereas you on the ground, you want to be showing, okay, we did these activities that resulted in these outputs, which are then feeding into these outcomes, which then feeds into the overall goal that the donor is trying to achieve in the long term. So if you come at your donor reporting more from like this kind of framework, it really helps you produce reports that are more the kind of thing that these donors want to see. Yes, and so generally you want to be balancing numbers with human stories. So donors tend to like to see a lot of statistics, numbers. It's something that overall it's more tangible, because if you can say, okay, we reduced maternal deaths by 50% over a certain number of years. So that's a very tangible statistic that they can go out and they can show we had this impact. So they really like that. But then at the same time as those qualitative numbers are great, those quantitative numbers are great, people also like emotional stories. And that's the great thing about like a good story, is that it can really like evoke emotions and make people feel more attached to the actual impact that's been had on the ground. So you kind of want to balance a bit of both. You want to have like strong quantitative statistics in there to really give it that like impact story just on a headline number, but you also want to combine that with stories of what actually happened on the ground, make people feel like they've really been a part of the impact that's actually being delivered. And then, yeah, just quickly, do you want to embrace transparency about challenges? And like generally in these reports, the challenges that you come across are generally tend to be part of it. And also you just want to pair that with like how you responded to the challenges that you saw on the ground. It's best to be honest with these kind of things. Any project that's getting implemented is going to come across all kinds of challenges. They expect to see that. So the more you detail, okay, these are the things that happened that we weren't expecting, this is how we addressed those, then it just shows a lot of transparency and honesty, which people generally like to see. I'm going to jump over this bit because just for time. Okay, so yeah, so also obviously when it comes to funding, people want to see like the financial part of it as well. So okay, if they gave you this amount of funding, then what was the breakdown of what you spent? How did that compare to your original plans at the start? And this is good where again, like honesty comes back to it, because best laid plans always go awry. So even if you had plans for a particular budget, some things go under budget, some things go over budget. It's good to just tell the story of the reality of what happened on the ground and explain why. Again, transparency is key in these parts. And when it also, what's important here is like maintaining consistent data is super important. And you're going to find that as an organization, if you can be very diligent and organized when it comes to collecting your data, it's going to really make your life a lot easier in the long term. So if you're working on particular projects, every time you're saving data related to that project, you want to be saving it with like the project name or the project code, things like the donor name and the grant reference, the reporting period. So you always want to be having, if you're collecting data, you always want to have the dates in there. And then if you can keep your data organized like that, then it just makes it so much easier when you're then trying to look back through all the data that you've already collected over the years. and organize through it, sort through it. So you kind of want to put some good things in place now, like organizing your data into project folders and things like that. It's going to make your life a lot easier in the long run. So then when it then comes to producing the actual reports, and actually you'll find that this is something that ReportsAI is very, very good at helping you with, is that you want to follow a clear and predictable structure. Generally, it starts with an executive summary that just summarizes the overall impacts and the things that the report is addressing. Then you get into the context and the problem. Then you get a bit more into the details of the activities and the outputs. Then outcomes and evidences. And then after you've detailed the outcomes evidences, usually you cover a bit on the challenges and the mitigation methods. Again, as we said, you want like nice amount of transparency there. Then the financial overview, and then the human story. When you bring that in, that's really, as we were saying earlier, you want to have nice qualitative parts. So Zachary, do you have your hand up there? Oh, sorry, I thought you was asking a question. Yeah, so when you bring in the human story, it's like, okay, you've been nice and quantitative, for example, in your outcomes and your evidence, but then you can have a really nice human story in there that makes people really feel like they were there, they feel the impact, and then you finish it off with next steps. These kind of structures, we allow you to be able to build those into report types in ReportsAI, so it can help you always follow a consistent structure, but we'll get to that when we get into the practical part. And then just finally, I think it's worth noting again, like just to put yourself back into the donor's perspective, is you want to be quite punchy and to the point. Like concise, I think, is always the best thing to be. Content structured in bullet points or with nice visuals. Make information easy to digest. You don't want things to just be extremely wordy to the point where once somebody starts reading it, they lose interest and they stop reading it. You want to get your points across as quickly as possible. And then you want to really make sure that you're complying with anything that the donors have set. And there's some good parts within the platform that actually allow you to kind of set compliance requirements for certain document types. So if a donor sets you particular requirements, you can make sure that you're adhering to those. Right, so that's all for that. That's all I wanted to cover quickly. Is there any questions on any of that so far? Just before I jump, otherwise I'm just going to jump into ReportsAI and we can start getting a little bit more practical with this.
If there's any question, you guys feel free to cut it. But I feel like, Archie, this is really, really great. I shared a message on the chat where I did specify that if there is, I mean, we're going to be a lot more technical from this point. So we're going to be using ReportsAI for reporting, and then we're going to be using other tools as well for content creation, reporting, etc. So if you have accounts for any of these tools already, then you're all set. If you don't, then let us know so we can assist you in like setting you up. For example, tools like ChatGPT, Cloud, Gemini, 11 Labs, and Hagen. So in the next, we're going to give you the list of tools where you need to get an account. If you don't have an account, it's totally okay. We're going to be help you set this up. This is a great session, Archie. I'm also learning a lot from you actually today.
Great. Okay. All right, let me get into ReportsAI. Okay, so now we'll just jump into the ReportsAI platform. Joe, I'm actually going to start from the landing page just to show what it would look like if where you would start out at. So ReportsAI, it's a browser-based app, so there's nothing to download onto your machine or anything like that. So in terms of like getting to use it, it's very, very simple. You just go to reports-ai.app. You see the address there. You'll get to this landing page here, and then you can click the Get Started for Free button to start to activate your free trial, or if you've already got an account, you can just log in. So when you log in, it would take you here, The only thing that the platform is going to ask from you at a first point is for some information on your organization. So in this part, my organization here. The reason for that is just that the platform needs some context of who your organization is and what you do, because it's going to use that when it's generating reports and things like that. So I've set this demo account up as Moja Health. They're a NGO operating in Kenya, working on maternal and child health. So I've just got some details of the organization I put in there. You can also put your organization's website in here, and we can scrape data from there as well. But this is kind of the first point that you need to do when you log into the platform. You can also add users here. You don't have to add other users, you can just have yourself, but it can also be beneficial to just describe your role within the organization and a role description. As you can see, I've set myself up as the monitoring and evaluation manager and Mohammed as the country officer for Kenya. And so the platform then has context of who we are within our organization and what our roles are. So then when it actually auto allocates tasks later when we work on that, you'll see that it can auto allocate tasks to the correct person in the team because it knows who the different users are. So I'm going to show you how quick and easy it is to go from literally logging in to generating your first report. So you've logged in, you've described your organization, and now you just want to get straight to generating your first report. Now, if you already have the data that you want to use to generate your report, so let's, for example, say this is a field activity report. So I've collected some field activity report like notes from my field officers. So I've had a couple of different field officers send me their field activity report updates. They're just in rough Word documents. And then I've got an Excel file of the beneficiaries reached, for example. So I've already got the data I need to then generate my field activity report. Now that data can, like I said, it can be Excel files, it can be Word. It could also be voice notes. If like you wanted your field officers to just send you some voice notes of what they've been doing, then you can use data as like raw and rough as that as well. So you just come here, you go choose files, and I'm going to choose the Excel file, a couple of Word docs, and it will just extract the data from those at a first point. And then what you can do is you could just prompt up here, say, turn this rough field data into a field activity report. So you could prompt up here like that. But what I find better if you're doing a repeatable report type, something that you're going to be doing over and over again, then it makes more sense to just build a report type. So report types just control the structure of the output. So for example, I've got a field activity report type in here, and I can create my own ones of these, but essentially I already have a field activity report type in here which specifies what a field activity report needs to contain. And I'll show you how you can build your own ones of these after I just quickly show you how easy it is to generate this. So that more has control over, okay, what the structure of the output is going to look like. If you want to have more control over what the format of the output is going to look like, then you can also use a template. And I can show you how to build these afterwards. You can build your own templates. So I built one here that's for the FCDO. So sometimes you have donors that send you a template that they want you to fill out. So this allows you to basically build those templates, and you can just upload new data each week and just populate the same template over and over again. So just to clarify one more time, report type controls the structure and the requirements of what the report needs to contain, whereas the template is more about following a very particular format. So I'll choose those two, and then you can add images if you want, but you don't have to, and then you can just click generate. So what happens right now is that we've extracted the data from the notes and structured it, and we're now feeding it to the AI model in chunks. The reason why this is different to something like ChatGPT or Gemini is that if you just dump a huge amount of data into a generic AI tool like a ChatGPT, for example, it can't manage that amount of data in one go because it has a limited context window, which the context window is just essentially the amount of data that it can see at any one time. So if you chuck loads of data at it and expect to get a long report out the other side, it just can't manage that much context in one hit. So this platform has been built to basically manage context in very intelligent ways. We extract the data as a first point, so we've got all the data and it's structured, and we're able to feed it to the AI model in chunks, so it can generate a much stronger report and longer report out the other side without leaving data behind and without leading to any like fabrications and hallucinations, which tend to be a big problem when using AI tools. So this generates a report, and this is then like a Google Doc, Word doc, whatever you're used to using. You can come in here and edit this however you want to, make changes, so that I don't need that there. So you can come in here and edit it however you want, and it's very user friendly because it's like a Google Doc, Word doc kind of format. But you can also use the AI tool to help you. So you can just highlight any parts you want and then ask AI to rewrite anything for you. The great thing about using this AI tool as well is that it does also have access to your knowledge base, which is all the information you've saved within the platform. So it can actually reference that when you ask AI here as well. But what's really powerful about what I find about this is that you can say highlight this, and you can use these shortcuts. I really like this one, turn this content into a visual. As we were saying earlier, when you're generating donor reports, you generally want to make them like easy to digest, and turning things into visuals can really help with that. So this just makes it so easy to create visuals like this. You just highlight, say turn into a visual, and just bang, it's like done, makes you a visual just like that. And that's now just so much nicer to read, right? Something that would have taken you a huge amount of time before is done in an instant like that, and you can just make reports that really just come to life a lot more. Just to quickly cover what these yellow parts are, because you're probably wondering. So one of the things that we are trying to solve at ReportsAI is that generic AI tools tend to have some big problems of producing either fabricated information in terms of that they'll just make stuff up that sounds good, or just kind of pulling information from random sources that isn't like your information, which that's kind of fine if you're just using it for some random task, but it's not fine if you're using it for donor reporting, where donor reporting trust is really the most important thing, right? So you can't be having information that's not yours or fabricated information in your reports. And you've seen in the news that there's been like some big problems with this, with like large organizations using AI, and they've got these weird outputs. So we're trying to build a platform that protects against that. So at a first point, when we're in the report generation, we're ensuring that what gets generated is very much grounded in your data inputs. So it's not going to pull data from random sources, and it's not going to fabricate things. But anywhere where it feels like it needs more information, or where it's making a slight assumption, it highlights it in yellow so that the human in the loop can always look over it. And that, like, this is an important thing as well, is that we're always trying to make sure that we're trying to empower the humans that do these roles, to give them the tools they need to do their roles better. So the human in the loop should always be checking the outputs. You can't just rely on AI completely and just trust its outputs all the time. It's still a tool that you are using, and you're the expert, so you need to be able to check over these things or see where maybe you need more information. Even like here, it can just tell you where to make like slight improvements. So that's essentially what the yellow highlights are there to do. So once you've worked on this and you're happy with it, you can do stuff like you can turn it into a text summary. So if it's like a very long report and you don't want to send somebody like a 30-page report, you can just turn it into a one-page summary that you can send, or an audio summary. Now, audio summaries are really great because they're super realistic. So it's almost like you have your own analyst there who's already read over this report for you, and they're just giving you the key points. So that can be a really nice thing to maybe even just send to like a manager or someone, or just send alongside the actual finished report to save somebody time. And then once you're happy with it, you can save it to drafts. That allows you to just save it to drafts within the platform. And then whenever you want to come back to it, you can then just open yourself back into here from drafts, and you'll be back in the editor just like this, and you can carry on working on it. Or you can also export to Word, which means you'll just download it to your machine if you then want to email it to someone or something like that. So I just wanted to show you how quick and easy it is to generate a report on the fly if you've already got the data that you need to generate it. But the reality is that most of the time you don't have the data you need to generate the report. Like collecting the data is the first point, right? So this is where report projects come in. So you can manage all your report projects in one place. You can see them all here. You can see the deadlines. You can see how much progress has been made. You can then click into any of them and see how much progress is being made on the tasks. And this is kind of where like the task management part of the platform comes in. So let's just put it into perspective. So if we go back and we create a report project. So let's think that we're still Umoja Health. They're a NGO working in Kenya, and they need to do a Q1 progress report. So they need to show their donors, okay, in Q1, the Safe Births program, which is the program that they're implementing in Kenya to try and reduce maternal mortality. So that's the overall goal of the program, to reduce maternal mortality. The program that they're implementing is called the Safe Births Program, Kenya, and they need to do a Q1 progress report on that program. So that's something they're going to be working on over the first 3 months of the year, right? So it's not something where they've got the data instantly ready to go. It's something they're going to be working on as a team. So they want to create a report project. So they would come here, create a report project to call it Q1 progress report. And then what you can do here is you can add things like log frames, budgets, planifications to the report project, and that gives the platform context. Okay, like what is this project that you're working on? What are the key outcomes that it's looking to achieve? What's the goals that it's looking to achieve? Just gives the platform more context on what this project is and what you're doing. But you don't have to upload anything there, but you can. And then you can set a start date and end date. So let's just keep this realistic as a Q1 report. So we'll just do Jan to end of March. And I'm just going to set a deadline to the end of this week. So then the other part here is that you can choose whether it's private, public, shared. That's like within your users of the platform. So it's always going to be private to your platform. If you have multiple users from your organization within the platform, you can control who gets to see it to make that public. So here, see now that's the report project I've just created, right? So if I now click into it, it wants me to create tasks. So it wants to create a bunch of tasks to complete this report project, right? So what we can do is upload planifications. So I'm going to upload field report planifications. So this actually allows the platform to actually auto produce you a bunch of tasks to save you the time of having to produce all these tasks yourself. You can just upload your plans for a particular project, like what you're trying to achieve, etc., and the platform will automatically produce a task for you. which again just saves you a huge amount of time. But once these tasks get produced, you can then edit them, change the dates. You can also change who they get assigned to, because you'll see that the tasks will actually be automatically assigned to who it thinks is best to complete a particular task. So go on, Zachary.
Yes, I have a quick question on this particular element, that is creating tasks from a document. Could you use, for instance, the approved proposal for this kind of work, for this component of the report?
The what? Sorry, the what proposal?
The fund proposal.
Fund proposal. That's something from the donor, is it?
Something that you wrote to the donor and they approved, and this could be activities and the tasks and so on.
Yeah, okay. That sounds like it should work. I mean, we can work on that. We can try that out together. But from the sounds of what you're describing, that's exactly the sort of thing that would produce this task list. Yeah, because I assume that within that document, it lays out the kind of projects that you're implementing and the kind of things that the donor want to see in return, right? So as long as it's got those kind of details in it, the platform can just extract that and produce the task for you. Great. Yeah, so you see all these tasks get produced for you. They get set with like priorities, they get assigned to people, but you can come in here and you can change who they're assigned to. So I think, oh, actually, I think that maybe Mohammed should complete that one. I can assign it to him instead. If I think, okay, the due date on this one, I think maybe should be then. So some more due dates. You can come in here and change anything that you want to change. You can delete what you want to delete. So let's, for example, just like delete some of these, so I've not got too many to deal with. And then you can just create those tasks. And you now see, like within your report projects, you've got your tasks in there that have been set, and you can see the progress that you've been making. So if you want to add additional tasks, you just create a new task here. So this is how you just add tasks manually if you want to add a task. So yes, do monthly field activity reports. You can actually use this little suggest with AI button. So if you just put the task title, AI can actually suggest the task requirements for you. And then you can just change, you can edit from there if you want to. So I'm just gonna do that. So you set me the task specifications for me, and then I can make any changes that I want to make. Set a start date. Just gonna set a start date yesterday. I'm gonna set this one as urgent because we're gonna do it now. And what's really powerful about this as well is that you can even assign tasks to people external to your organization or an external to your platform. So you can just enter somebody's email address, create the task, and then they'll get an email and they'll see that this task has been assigned to them with all the details in there, and then they can upload data to that task. But I'm going to assign this one to myself, so I create that task. And now I can see this task is assigned to me, and it's urgent. So when you actually want to complete a task, so this is monthly field activity reports. To complete that task, I need to upload evidence that I've completed the task. So that's what the notes are essentially. The notes are you uploading the data or the evidence of you completing the task. So for example, for monthly field activity report, the notes, I'm going to add the notes to that, which will be field activity reports, some rough field notes. You can choose whether or not to keep them attached to the note, the actual original files. But if you just think this way about tasks, it's like the tasks will get broken down, and all the tasks are really doing is requesting data, if you think of it like that. So when you add notes, that's you providing the data to show that that task is complete. Because really what all of these tasks are doing is requesting data, requesting data, requesting data. And then once you've got all of the data, then you can generate your report. So it's different from what we did earlier, which was just generating a report instantly when we already had all the data there. What we're doing is creating a project where we are requesting these different data points, and then we're going to actually generate the report based on all of this data once we have all of it. So I've added a note to this task with the field activity reports from earlier. So I now come into the task and I can now try and mark it as complete because I've already uploaded the data to show that I conducted the field activity reports. So now I just press save changes. And what happens is that the platform is now assessing the data that I've uploaded against the task specifications to say, okay, does this data really complete this task? Is it complete? Is it relevant? So you get a bit of a summary, some insights. So what's really great about all of this is that you just get instant feedback on the data that you've uploaded. So if you're working with a big team and you want to allocate some tasks to like various people within your team, rather than having to have like a back and forth over email, everybody can get instant AI feedback on the data that they provide, because you get these final reviews. And then if you're still happy with it, you can mark it as complete. But otherwise, you can read the recommended next steps and you can make the changes that it requests, and you can reach out to the people it suggests you to reach out to. Okay, so I've now marked that task as complete, and you can see we're now making progress. Once we've completed all of those tasks, then we're then in a stage where we can then just generate the report. So when I then try and generate the report, I can choose whether to generate it just based on my own notes that have been uploaded or everybody's notes. So usually you're probably going to be using everybody's notes if you've been requesting data from everyone. And then when you go to generate a report, it evaluates the project as a whole. So this is similar to it evaluating a task specifically, but it's now evaluating all the tasks individually and then evaluating the whole thing as a whole and saying, well, how ready are you to generate this report? How good is the data that you've uploaded? Have you completed all the tasks? So you can see here that the task of generating monthly field activity reports marked as complete, but the evaluation highlights a significant concern regarding data quality. So you get this instant feedback to say, is your data really strong enough to be generating this report? So you get instant suggestions to improve, corrective measures, all of this. So if you were about to generate a report, you might read this and say, actually, I clearly need more information. So you would then cancel, go back, be like, okay, there's still these other tasks that need to be completed. And maybe this data that I've uploaded, this field activity report, isn't complete enough. Maybe I should try and get better information, better data before I try and generate this report. So does all of that make sense so far? Because I feel like this bit can be a bit harder to get your head around. So if there's anything that within there that isn't quite making sense, then let me know and I'll try and explain. Good. Okay, cool. So we're all good so far. So yeah, essentially, just to break that down again, if you already have the data that you want to use to generate a report, so for example, Zachary, if you're generating your annual report, if that annual report, for example, is made up of just each individual monthly report for the last 12 months, and you already have those 12 reports ready to go, then maybe you can just come here to generate a report instantly, choose the files, just upload the 12 monthly reports, and then generate your annual report from there, because you already have the data ready to go, right? But let's say that you don't have the data ready to go. You have to request a bunch of data from different people within your organization. Then you'd want to come to creating a report project, the annual report, and you might want to upload the planifications, and then you can set tasks to people within your organization and say, okay, I need this information from you for me to complete the annual report. and then that's when the checks on the data that gets uploaded get done. And then once you've got all of the data you need to generate your annual report, then you can actually go and just generate the annual report. Does that make sense? So it's like once you've, say, for example, of this one, report and activities to send to the board, if I'd already completed all these tasks, I could then just come here and just generate my report that's going to basically pull all of that data that's been uploaded and generate your annual report for you. So I hope that's all making sense. I want to quickly get into report types and templates, because these are really important for giving you more control over what your report is going to look like. Because you can upload data that is quite what I would call like raw, like it's kind of rough, messy data. You can upload data in like so many different formats to this platform, and the output that comes out the other side, you're going to have a lot of control over that within report types. So if you want to get to where the different report types are in the platform, you come to my report projects. You see this, my report types here. Then you can see the different ones that we've built. So for example, here's a good one, annual report. So if Zachary, if you're producing an annual report, this is the kind of one that might be interesting for you. So this is one that I've been more specific because it's for the Umoja Health organization, because you can build your own ones in here. So I've given a description, I've given compliance requirements. You can come in here and you can edit these if you want. So this is an annual report. I've given the details of like the things it needs to contain, and then you can also set the compliance requirements in there as well. So this is basically giving you control over every time you choose that report type, it's going to follow these compliance requirements and this description to produce you something that looks like that based on the data that you input. Let me see another example of this. And then if you want to build your own ones of these, you can either come here and create a report type there, or back in this part where we were here, if you're on the report type here, you can just create my own report type there. And then you can just put a title of the report type. They call it annual progress report, this one. You can again suggest with AI, but you can also be as detailed in there as you want to be. So let's just go suggest with AI, see what it comes out with, and then we can work on it from there. So when you suggest with AI, it uses the context of your organization, because this platform's Umoja Health. It makes it specific to Umoja Health. So if you were doing this within your platform, Zachary, for your annual report, for example, it would do it based on your organization. And then it sets the compliance requirements in there. But if you've got particular compliance requirements from your donor, for example, if they said, okay, when you produce an annual report for me, it needs to contain X, Y, and Z, then you can put those in here. You could, even if you've got, you might even have something that your donor has sent you that sets out exactly what they like to see within their donor reports. Then you can put that information in here, and then you can just create a new report type. So then when it actually comes back to when you upload all that data and you want to generate your report, use more settings here, and you just choose the report type that you created, the annual report. And then you can just generate it, and it will meet those requirements that you already set within there. And it's a similar kind of thing for templates. So you can create your own templates. you just add a template there. But let me show you sort of like what they look like. So within my report projects, we've got my templates here. So let me quickly show you the FCDO one, what that looks like, the one we were using earlier. You can see like this. You can put images. So anything that isn't within curly brackets. So these curly brackets here, what they represent is what's called a placeholder. So each placeholder, you can almost think of it like a prompt. But you know, when you prompt, say, ChatGPT or anything like that, any AI tool, when you write in a prompt, each one of these placeholders is essentially a prompt. It's a prompt to say, put this information here. So you can be as detailed as you want to be. So you can put stuff like report date that you want to put in this particular part of the table. And it makes sense to like put date only, because otherwise it might say the report date is, it will say it like that because it's AI. So AI tends to respond in like long sentences. If you just want the report date, then just put date only. So you get to build these little placeholders everywhere where you want to put information. And even things like achievement 1, achievement 2, challenges, recommendations, you can build officer's name. You can put all these different placeholders in, and it will then populate this template using those prompts. So let me show you another example just to make this clear, because I've got quite an interesting one from Oxfam that I was working on. So they have one of these quite detailed templates that they need to fill out. So you see it's got all these different tables, and it also has these sections where it has a question and it says, say, please limit the answer to 800 words, for example. It's quite common when you get like with even grant applications and these templates, they tend to say, okay, fill out this box, but limit it to 800 words or something like that. So you can see with the placeholder that I put in there, I've just put the exact question from above. So you can be as detailed as you want to be, and you can even put stuff like, please limit the response to a maximum of 800 words. And it will then follow that. It will populate, it can populate this, this exact template. So the first time you build these templates, it can be a little bit fiddly because you have to come in here, put the placeholders in the sections that you want. But once you've done it once, you can just use this template over and over again. So it just saves you a huge amount of time in the long run. So for example, let me show you just quickly what it would actually look like if we fill out this this template. So I feel like this is quite a nice example because it's like a very detailed template of all these different questions like this and all these different tables. So if I want to use that particular template, I'd come back to generator in a report. I'm going to choose a couple of field notes again, just to populate it with something. And this time, I could actually just not use a report type. I can just use the template. So narrative report Oxfam is that template. So I just select the template that I was looking at there, narrative report Oxfam. And I don't have to put a report type, but I did actually build a report type before, which was for this. So it was a narrative summary report, I believe. Yeah. But I could also even just leave this part blank and it will still fill out the template and generate. If there's any questions on these bits so far, then yeah, just please jump in and let me know, because I know it's quite a lot to take in.
I don't have a particular question. I think this is actually great in terms of like how you're handling the reporting automation process. I think people will get a lot more from having their own access to the platform and experimenting with their own data, and that is part of the whole process, right? So like we discussed before the session, as soon as I get the list of emails, what they're going to be using to log in, I'll be able to provide the promo code so they can just directly have free access and experiment with their own data as well.
Yeah. Even straight away, Mohammed, they can log in and.
Oh yeah. They can do it by
right?
themselves
So
right now.
activate your free account straight away anyway, right?
Yeah, they can do it right now, and then they'll get like 2 weeks for free. I will extend it to 6 months as soon as I get the emails. But yeah, that's actually even better if they can log in now, so we know which emails are used for which organization.
Yeah. I think my internet's been a bit slow here. But yeah, so if you can think of, oh, there you go. So you see it will populate where it needs the information. So things like project title, it already knows that it's a Safe Births program in Kenya. And again, you see the yellow highlights. It's where it feels like it needs more information. It knows that it needs an Oxfam project ID number here, but I didn't provide one, so it's letting me know that. And that's a really great thing about this platform, is that whenever it doesn't have the information, it tells you, rather than some of these other tools that when they don't have the information, they often kind of make stuff up, which is obviously quite dangerous. This tool has been built to always tell you when it doesn't have the information. And you see it even can fill out the dates. It fills out these sections. So you can see it can save you a huge amount of time when it comes to filling out these kind of like repetitive templates. And then you can just work on it from here. And then when you're done with it, you can just export it to Word or save it as a draft. Cool. So I hope all of that is making sense so far. It'd be great to get into some practical examples. So I know, Zachary, like you mentioned that you're working on an annual report. So that's potentially a good example. Is there any other kind of reports on the call, like anything kind of a bit more maybe specific, like a niche type of report that anybody's working on, or a report that needs to meet a very particular template is another one? Because if you have very specific templates that you need to meet, then we can work on those together. I can help you populate the template with the placeholders so that you can get something that works as well as this one. But yeah, let's say then, for example, we work on your example then, Zachary. Like the first thing to do is like, okay, if you log into this platform, you would describe your organization. So you give the description of your organization's website if you want. And then I think, okay, great. You're going to be working on this annual report that you need to do, right? So you'd come to my report project and my report types and create a new one. So we can then call that the annual report. For Zachary, let's say. And you get, like I was showing you earlier, you can use suggest with AI, but like let's even just think ourselves, okay, well, what do we want this report to look like? Summarize the like you could be as detailed as you want in that description. And then if you have certain compliance requirements from your donor, let's say, then you could really like start to like get down into them in this compliance requirements. So you could say you need to specify the challenges that were faced and how they were overcome, something like that. And then you could just set all of those different compliance requirements in here, and then just create that new report type. And do you, Zachary, for this particular annual report, do you have to follow a template?
No. It's for my organization. There is no particular template for this.
Okay, that makes it a little bit easier then. So if you're then going to be collecting data from different people in your team, like we were saying before, though, you could then just create a report project, create the annual report project like we were showing earlier, and then set the task for the people within your team to collect the data from them. And then once you've got everything, you can then go ahead and generate that report. Do you feel like there's any part of that process that's not making sense right now, Zachary?
Yes. I'm stuck at just a moment. I'm stuck at the initial phase, which was report, then annual report, description of what to expect. At this point, I do not know whether I should files that I want to include in the report, or I'm going back to my report projects before I can upload the files.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
To follow what you're doing.
Yeah.
And in my account, I'm logged in right now. So
okay,
I'm
great.
following what you're doing, and after the description of the report, there is upload files or extract information and so on and so forth. But then I see you go back to my report products. I do not have on my side.
Okay, you don't have any report projects in there yet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going to create one. So what you can kind of do along with me right now is go create a report project. And then let's say you just call it an annual report or annual report of your organization name, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Then give that brief description of what you want to do. So you can be more detailed on this later, so I won't worry about being too detailed right now. But say this report is to summarize the key activities and outcomes. Now for this part where it asks you to choose files, you don't have to add anything here yet, but if you do have things like what you described earlier, which was some sort of document from the donor that describes what they want from this report, that kind of thing you could upload here, because it then gives the platform context of what this report project is about. But right now, let's say you don't have to upload anything there right now, so you could just skip past that and just put the start date. So let's just say you're going to start working on this today, and that your deadline is, for example, the end of the month, so the end of the year, the end date when you're going to finish working on it. But your deadline, maybe your deadline is actually to have it completely done is the end of Jan, let's say. And then you just make it public to your platform. Then you just select create report here.
Right.
Okay. So once you've done that, did that work for you? So it should say that report project's created now.
Yeah, it's worked.
Okay, great. So if you now select that, click on it, it will pop up with this box saying report project created, and then it has a thing saying create tasks.
I see it now.
Great. So if you click create tasks, it then asks you to upload a document. So if you upload that document that you mentioned, from the donor, then that's going to help create the tasks for you.
Great.
So for me, I can upload progress report planification, for example. So yeah, once you've done that, then just press extract tasks, and it will create the tasks for you.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it takes a bit of time. But for anyone else on the call that's got their own practical examples that they want to go through, take this session and like try it out yourself, like, because it's now pulled these tasks out, and then we'll go over it practically in the one-on-one sessions and make sure everything's working for you. But if there's any questions, like particularly how to create templates, because I feel like that's sometimes a bit difficult, so I can help. Anyone wants to make any templates, let me know, I can help. If anybody wants to make any particular report types, then let me know again, and I can help. But yeah, so this is where we are now. Zachary, were you able to generate those tasks?
It's still loading. It keeps loading.
Okay. Yeah, just give it a minute. Hopefully it will come up with those in a sec.
Okay. Sorry to barge in. I joined some 20 minutes ago. I didn't join on time. I just met you going through this particular software, and I followed from where you are trying to take us through creating the route up to this point. I would want to ask questions, but then because I didn't follow from the beginning where you talked about the templates and other things, I may not be able to ask. But on this particular one, from where you started to where you have gotten to creating tasks, is it the case that from here you would now have to feed some information, or what is the process for you to complete creating the annual report or any other report you intend to?
Yeah, great. Yeah, that's a great question. So we've got these tasks here. You can then edit these however you like. So I'm just going to delete a bunch of these just for the demo. But you can choose who to assign them to within your organization. So I'm going to assign that one to Mohammed, for example. Set priorities, set due dates, change the task specifications if you want to, make whatever changes you want, and then you can create the tasks. So once the tasks are created, then to complete a task, you add notes to it. And so adding notes to a task is essentially like adding evidence to the task. You're trying to provide evidence that you've completed the task. And that evidence is essentially data that you're uploading to the task that is then going to get used to generate the report at the end. So for example, if it's an annual report, these tasks could be things like send the monthly report for January. And another one could be send a monthly report for February. Another one could be send a monthly report for March. And all those tasks got set to particular people within the organization who have that data. And then they can come here and basically upload the data. So let's just create a new task. So you can create tasks manually as well. Let's say upload monthly report for January. Here you go. So I'm creating this task. Got the task description there that I just suggested with AI. I'm going to set the start date today, end date, end of the week. priority urgent because we're going to do it right now. You could assign it to someone outside your organization, but I'm going to assign it to myself. So I now see this urgent task assigned to me to upload the data for the January report. So if I now come in here, I want to add notes. I'm going to upload some field notes for January. Did that work for you in the end, Zachary? Did the tasks come out?
Yes, the tasks are up and they are very detailed.
Okay, great.
I'm really loving how it looks.
Great.
Question I have at this point is the assignee.
Mm-hmm.
When I click the drop down, it's only one email, and I'd like to understand how to add more people into this different tasks.
Yep.
Do they have to be signed into the platform, or do I include into the platform so that they can get notifications with the progress of the different components?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so essentially you can assign tasks. The drop down will be the people within your platform. So if you add users, so within this particular example platform, the users are Mohammed and me. So this task has been assigned to Mohammed, and this task has been assigned to me. But you can also assign tasks to people external from your platform. So you click the assign to external box, it then asks you for an email. So then you put their email address in, and then they get an email saying that this task has been assigned to them. So that's how you can request information from people, because then they get an email, they see the task specifications, they see like what you're asking for that from them, and then when they upload the data, it will do the checks. So that's just what I was going to get onto now quick, is that so I've uploaded that data as I was requested in this task. Upload monthly report for January. I've uploaded the data. You can see the note here. You can evaluate the task progress, which means it evaluates the quality of the data that's been uploaded. This also happens automatically if I try and mark it as complete. So this is pending, but mark it as completed. Save changes. You see it does a task review. So it's evaluating what I've uploaded against the task specifications. So it's letting me know that because I just uploaded some random field notes, it's letting me know that that isn't really completing what it's asked. And it's giving me recommended next steps on how I should actually improve that. So it's just giving you that instant AI feedback on whether what you've uploaded is really good enough or not. But if you just wanted to override that and mark it as complete, you could. And then once all of these tasks are completed, then you can just generate my report based on all those notes. So for you, Zachary, now that you've got all those tasks in there, you can allocate them to people outside of your organization, or you can go about completing them yourself, where you upload the data yourself. And then once you've completed all of them, then you would come here and generate my report. And you're gonna you won't use a template because you don't want to use a template for that one, and you just generate your report from that.
Right. Thanks.
Cool.
I think I've progressed to a good point. Whatever I will need assistance with would be assigning tasks to people outside my organization, because at this point I cannot see that point where I'm assigning tasks. but I will keep exploring the site with time. I think it will come slowly. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. See, if I come here and I say create a task, and I'm creating a new task here like this. See, I can, this little box here, assign this task to someone external to my organization.
When I click assign a task, it does not show anything on my end. So that is where the problem is at the moment.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's have a look at that together in the one-on-one. Oh, sorry, go on, Mohammed.
No, I think that's exactly what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that's perfect. Can like solve this on the one-on-one session. That's good.
Great. Yeah, and for those that joined a little bit later, this is the sort of the more complicated part of working on a report project. So something that you're working on over time, where you're going to need to request data from various people before you can actually generate the report. But the kind of simpler part, if you just want to get to value quickly, this generate report instantly. If you're just curious to see like how the platform works and get a feel for it straight away. If you've already got the data that you need, you can just choose and upload raw data here. So feel free to upload voice notes in Swahili if you want, in French, whatever. You can upload Word documents, Excel files, whatever raw data you have, just upload them here. And then you could prompt it at the start, up the top here, say, create a field activity report from this raw data. You could do that, and then you could just press generate. But if you're doing something that's quite repetitive, then I think it makes sense to press this more settings and just choose a report type. So you can build your own report types. To save you having to prompt up there, you can be more detailed in the report types. So you can build your own where you really set all the requirements within a report type. So I've got one here for field activity report that I've already built. And I've got a template that I've already built. And then I can generate a report as easy as that. But you don't have to select a template. You don't have to select a report type. You can just use that prompt box at the top if you just want to sort of see how it works and play around with that and see what the outputs look like. You can do that. Because the real power of this platform is it's going to extract all the data for you, structure it, and then feed it to the model in chunks and generate you a report out the other side. And then when it comes to report types and templates are about controlling format. Report types are about controlling like the content and the compliance requirements. So you can build either of those. So then you get these outputs like this. You can then come in here, edit whatever you want. Like that shouldn't be there, so I can delete that. Come in, turn this content into a visual, for example, etc. But yeah, is there any more questions? Then don't worry, I'm going to send this recording out to you all, so you can go over it and you can go over it more slowly.
The recording, because I joined late, but if you send the recording, it will help me so I can give my personal questions later on.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, so I'll send out the recording today, and then if there's any questions that come up when you're actually trying to use it in practice, then just email me as well, and I'll come back to you straight away. So yeah, don't be afraid to reach out, because the more we actually use this platform like together, the more it's going to make sense, and the more use you're going to get out of it. The more we can help you with building particular report types to meet your very particular requirements. Like for example, I built one here that's like a focus group summary one. So you can build stuff for very particular things you're trying to work on. You can build very particular templates as well. So yeah, we can go through all of that together as we go. So the more kind of, if you've got any like practical examples you can think of, okay, here's a report I'm trying to generate right now. it needs this template, it needs to be this kind of type, the donor has asked that it meets these particular requirements, then let's work on those together. But that's all for today.
How do I get onto the platform? Because I didn't join early. Do I have to log in, or I just have to type and I'll get straight to it?
Yeah, sure. So what I was showing earlier is that basically this is a web-based platform, so it's very easy to use because you don't have to download anything. You just go to this website, reports-ai.app, and it takes you to this landing page here. And you just want to click get started for free, because that's just going to take you to activate a free trial. Or you've already got an account, you can just press login. So it's very easy, because if you go like get started for free as well, it's just, I'm already logged in, so it's just logging me straight back in. But you can log in with Google as well, so then you don't even really have to enter anything like password or anything. It just takes you straight through. It's not going to ask you for any bank details or anything like that. It's just going to log you straight into a free trial, so it's very easy to log in. The only thing that you'll need to do when you first get into the platform is go to this My Organization here, and you just give your organization name. So this one's for Emoja Health, it's a demo platform, and then give a detailed description of your organization. You can also just put your organization's website, and we can scrape some information from there. Basically, once you've done that, the platform's now got context of what your organization is and what you do. So then you can then go ahead and start generating reports. One other thing, I'm just very quickly going to drag this out too much, but one thing that can also be helpful is that you can upload documents to this platform and then choose which ones you want to put into your knowledge base. The good thing about having stuff in your knowledge base is that when you then generate reports, the platform can use the information in your knowledge base also as additional context in addition to the data that you upload. But let's go into that in a bit more detail in the next session, because I feel like I've covered a lot today, and it's already quite a lot to take in. But you can see here, like you can add documents to knowledge base. So let's, as a first point, like for everyone on this call, log into the platform. If you have any trouble logging in, let us know and we can help. Then describe your organization, put your organization name, describe your organization. And then as a very first starting point, I would just play around with generating a report instantly. Just upload some raw files. Can be rough stuff, like just record a voice note if you want, upload that. Or like I'll do things like I'll upload meeting recordings and then generate like meeting summaries and things like that. So upload some raw data, and then play around with the prompt box and see the kind of outputs you get, and then you can play around with the editor and stuff. And then we can get, once you've like watched this recording and stuff, we can get more into the details of like creating your own report types and your own templates, because that just gives you a bit more power to have more control over what the output of the report looks like. So it gives you a little bit more control than just using the prompt box. But yeah, have a play around with it, and I think as you play around with it, the questions will come up, and then we can work on those questions together. But yeah, is there any more questions just right now? And let me know, and otherwise we'll wrap it up. Cool. All right. Yeah.
This has been a great session, Archie. Thank you so much. And yeah, if you have any questions, share with us. And like I said, I'll be more than glad to extend everybody's accounts. It's part of the perks for the program into a longer trial. So as soon as you open your account, Archie, you can coordinate that. So we get the list of emails, and we'll be able to extend those accounts for everybody. And I think the one-on-one sessions are going to be very, very interesting as well, because we're going to be able to shape the tool according to all the different organizations, and then they'll get the maximum amount of value out of it. So I'm looking forward to it. This has been a great session, very informative. Thank you, man. Great.
Nice one. Cool. Thanks, Mohammed. Thanks, everyone, and thanks for joining. And yeah, we'll speak soon. All right, take
Thank
care.
you. Bye.